Hello YouTube, I'm holding the iPad right now. I just wanted to show my art journals that I have. Now, not all of these are currently being filled at all. I'm sort of starting with this one and, well, this is awkward, and this one. And yes, that's Pennywise, the old Tim Curry version. I got this, I think, I don't know where I got this. The site was, I forget the name of the site. They were selling some pretty cool stuff. It wasn't Etsy, but yeah. So anyway, I started with these two. This one was my first, and then I realized that I remembered why I really don't like this wire binding. Like for instance, the back keeps wanting to come off. See that? And you know, if I'm not careful, the back just flops off, which is really annoying. So the spiral bound is, I don't know, but it's staying together pretty well. So I wanted to do a flip through of those two and then just show, and I'll just quickly talk about these. I did get a mixed media proper one, and I adjusted the front already so I can decorate it. Excuse me, but it's got some really good mixed media paper, vellum surface, and it's 90-pound weight, which obviously wouldn't be good for watercolor, so it may pill up a little bit, but it's supposed to be for mixed media, so it's, sorry, it's fairly thick. A little bit like a cheap cardstock maybe. So, I don't know, we'll see how that works. There's 40 sheets, I can try it out. If I don't like it, then I just won't get one again, and I'll probably stick to actually one of these composition notebooks. And then two that I have in works, simply because I need to do something with them, and one of them is therapeutic. Now this one was an old vintage book, and I know you're probably going to scream and say, oh my god, yeah, but honey, seriously, I had ripped pages out when I was younger, so that sort of negates the vintageness of it. So I've already covered it mostly, as good as I can anyway, with brown paint. No, that was purple, that accidentally stuck to it, sorry. So I'm gonna do another couple layers of stuff, really start using this as an art journal just to reclaim it. And otherwise, you know, it's, I don't know. So the other one was a decent journal that I got for actual journaling. Now I'm not going to show any of it because it was venting. It was, you know, really like a lot of venting. And this is back in 2004, so I've got it filled up to a certain point. Trying not to show my thoughts. So this is very personal, but I'd used about this much, and I figured even if I start journaling again to really vent and be able to get it out of myself. I don't go to therapy and stuff like that. I think this is actually a very therapeutic way of venting frustrations and feelings. Yeah. So I was like, you know, what if I did that and then art journaled over it to sort of, not necessarily cover it, but almost kind of like a way of burning things to release energy, kind of like that is what I'm thinking. Not necessarily to cover it up though, because covering up isn't healthy. Now, this had been in my other house, which was very heavy with moisture and just very moldy, so I really don't know how to stop that. If anyone can tell me on a faux leather cover how to prevent all this moldy white disgustingness, please let me know, because I don't, other than maybe a little bit of rubbing alcohol. Every time I look something up like that, it's for walls and stuff like that, so that's not what I want. So I'll start with this one. I haven't done much, and what I have done, I don't finish too much. I just layer and layer and layer as I go. I learn a technique and go, ooh, that would look cool in here. Or I do kind of like a 20-page challenge, only not. I just, you know, slap some stuff on. So starting with the mandala, I had seen this first done by Stacy, Pink Poodle Crafts, and then I just have recently been building up the background. I mean, it started out with, yeah, the heart and this little piece of fabric I put on, and then that looks terrible, that piece. But then I've added on to it since then. I've used, I think this is gouache on the background. I had used the blue, some blue distress ink. I'm sorry, you can't see. And then I think this is watercolor on the side, maybe. Actually, that feels just like the gouache, so it might be gouache. Because I hadn't used it since I had bought it, so that's the first actually finished page. I think I'm done with that. And then I had played around with my Sharpies, the 80s edition, just being goofy. Now this is one of my other actually finished pages. I think I'm completely done messing with it. I don't know, it just says dream, live, love, dream and wishes over here. That's a stamp. This was one of Tim Holtz, I do believe, stencil. This was a stamp. Everything else is mostly, yeah, some of that yellow in the background is distress ink. This is distress ink. And some of this brown on the side, I can't remember what that is, but that's not distress ink. And these were distress crayons that I had drawn on. I don't know if you can see that texture difference between the ink and that. And this was just regular, I think paint left over, so I just decided to dot the sides. So I actually cut this out, wrinkled it up, did the, you know, rubber or an ink pad to highlight the crinkles, and that was about it. And pasted it on there. That was from a map of, I guess, Montgomery, Alabama, maybe? So, wherever Fort Morgan and Palmetto beaches. I don't know. This one is pretty much done as well. There's blue and red gouache to highlight what I had sort of done with distress ink on the bottom, but otherwise this is just, these stars was a texture plate folder, texture folder. And then these were from a garland from the Dollar Tree. They, my now 2.5, then I don't know, maybe it was like 1 year old, was plucking them off of the tree. We keep our tree up as a holiday tree, and I decorate it for every holiday, only I haven't since St. Patrick's Day. I've been working full time since then, so I haven't really gotten back around to that. This one's, I guess this one's pretty much done. I might put some papers maybe along the side now that the background is done, but the background is a mixture of gouache, some distress crayons, and this is my little alien guy. I was trying to work on getting good with faces, kind of like the Odd Girls or Scrap Monsters, and this alien came of it. I mean, as you can see, he's got a little globe helmet around his head, and he's got these little antlers. That's what I call him anyway, his antlers, and I think it came out really cute. So I don't know where he is or what he's doing, but that's that page. There's some gold on there of something that I had dripped or dropped. I don't even remember. But there's gold on there, and I think his body looks pretty cool. Little face. So cute. I love the eyes. So this one's pretty much finished too. Some distress inks in the background. This one is, I think, a Tattered Angel's Mist spray. This was a stencil. That was a stencil, I do believe, that I drew around. There was some, you know, tap-off stencil in white, and then this was a stamp, and that was part of the stamp as well. I wrote "I'll fly away," and that's about it, but a lot of this is, some of this in the background is distress crayon. I think that's what it feels like. So I was just trying the gouache a little bit more in here, wanted to accentuate that, and I grounded it by making a little ivy stem thing. I don't know. So this is my other alien, and he's got the horns that kind of like stripe it and reminds you of a unicorn. And I drew him on just a weird background, I don't know. And it started out by using distress crayons, but I kind of finished it off by using gouache. I don't really know how to use gouache very well. I've only done a couple of things. So this is just a whole bunch of like different, using up the rest of my paint on a text or jelly plate, and then just thing after thing on top of thing. And there's some, what do you want to call it? Texture paste right here that I had dyed with some pink. Got a lot of ink refills, little droppers, so I dyed it with that, and so that sort of did the little pink right here. But this was like something else I had scraped, I think, on my jelly plate, so that way it gave it some texture on the page. I really don't know what to do with this one. I don't know if I'll just leave it that way because it's cool looking, but yeah. This is another one I don't know what the heck to do with. Sharpies, distress ink. I think there's some gouache right there in the yellow circles. Some, not much, of crackle paint. This is a little bit of texture paste I used with yellow and scratched a little marks in it. So it feels kind of textury, but I don't know what to do with it. So now this one, and of course I always like sort of press off my stencils onto the backs every now and then. Not many of them, mostly that one. But I don't know if I'll do the backs. But this one, done with. Embrace the Adventure, cut out from a magazine. I think this was actually from the same ad. It was actually an ad. I thought it was a really pretty image. I don't know why. And then I added sparkle nail polish to her shirt, just 'cause I can. And then crackle paint. A couple of my crackle paints that I've had forever I didn't use, and they got really dried up, but these didn't. The gold and the green. And I used some more nail polish right there to do a little asterisk-y sort of image. Some, what do you call it, stickles for her eyes on this really badly inked up image, or it didn't press off as well as I'd liked. You kind of see the image. It's a girl's face right there. There's the lips, the nose, the eyes. But yeah. This is some of the texture and some of the colors. It looks a lot better in person, I swear. It's not like this garage lighting is doing it any justice. So I did some, sorry for this shakiness. I couldn't think of any other better way to do it. This text stamp in the background. I love text and doodling. Gel pen. That's one of my favorite pages that I actually did finish. Enjoy every, sorry, I can't even read my own handwriting. Enjoy every moment as if it were your last. Time flies when you're having fun. So, tick-tock. I did a little bit of clear crackle paint right there over top of a doodle. And another doodle. And these little doodlies in the middle are stickles, I do believe. Or maybe it's fingernail polish. Been using fingernail polish a lot as a, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, an accentuant. Kind of like the crackle paint right here. So a lot of this was just layer after layer after layer of putting it on the jelly plate. And these were just markers and stuff to sort of fill in the gaps, you know. Fear of white spaces. I sort of do have that. Now this is another really good page that I really like, full of paint upon paint from the jelly plate. Some distress crayons. Paint through using, oh, what was it? It was some kind of a mesh that I made sure I could really hold on to and kind of press down. Little dots that I just put on randomly to use up some black paint. Distress crayons. Maybe some gouache, I think, here along the sides to fill in the white space. A little something there. Pop of color. Yeah, there's distress crayons right there. Circles. So I love how it looks. I hate to cover it up, but I'm sure that I'm going to find an image or a really good quote from all the magazines I pilfered at work that were not being used anyway, and they were being given away. Now this one is also, I think it started with distress ink, and then maybe I built it up with, I want to say distress crayons. I did something through a stencil, I know, and then did these little, again, those little, it looks like chicken wire when you're done, that pattern. I did a little doodle here, but not so obvious, but I really like that page too. I like how this one came out. And so, like I said, since these are all build-ups and build-ups and build-ups, these will be backgrounds for something, I don't know what. And somehow in all there, sorry, I had seen the pattern of a rectangle in a couple boxes, and this along the side with all of my circles, and just, once again, a whole bunch of distress ink, jelly plate play, did some, I think some of these circles are outlined in a lot of distress crayons, markers, mostly that, not so much the gouache, and then I did a little extra paint on the side, probably with a credit card. Sorry if I'm traveling up. This one is, I might need a quote, maybe that's about it. A lot of distress ink and, what do you want to call it, distress crayons, paint pens, stuff like that. So, sorry if you can hear my dog snuffling in the background, smelling ground. This is just the word happy with gouache, marker, and then paint on top to sort of really get you to be able to see it. There's green distress ink in the back, and then I used this orange as a, I think that's a gouache. I'm trying to get the colors to work. These chevron-like patterns are, that was, I want to say, distress crayon, and over it I put gouache. This is gouache, more of those patterns. But most of the background I do believe is distress ink pads. And some of these are gouache to really just give interest to the bottom of the page, to sort of balance it out. It felt so empty just saying happy. This is another one of those, you know, just color up some pages. So this one's done, but my mermaid looks like a bobble-headed, I don't know, crack whore or something. I don't even know. I think my drawing is absolutely terrible. Her hair looks too thin. I need to work on that. I don't know. She's supposed to be holding like a horn or something in her little seashell bra. She looks goofy as heck. I did a little bit of doodling of an ivy up the top because I've always loved drawing ivy or, you know, that sort of thing. Wrote Imagine, did stickles on the edges, did a star. That was from a stencil, I do believe, with some more stickles in the doodles. I mean, I don't know if you can pick up any of that, like, layered of metallic-y paint, and there's, like, some other stamps in the background. If you can see the text. There you go. You can kind of see the text. So, there's another type of text I used. So that one's pretty much done. As much as I don't like the way that mermaid looks, it's how I draw. So here is one double-sided layout, just to see if the pages could really take all that paint and everything. And I think it took it pretty well. It doesn't feel any less sturdy. I guess if I really wanted to, I could glue some of these pages together, but I really like how this one came out. By this point, I had watched some videos and had really gotten a better feel for kind of how to do stuff. I'm just learning, so this is not probably going to be the best work ever. This was a stencil, these flowers. This was a stencil, and then I doodled inside these little teardrops. I love those stencils. That was a stamp, no, stencil. Colored it in. I said, art your heart out. think I freehanded that arrow, and more of that stenciling. That was a stencil, and that pattern was a stencil, and that was a stencil. Everything else, other than these flowers, that was a stencil. Everything else I just sort of put some paint down and blocked it all in, doodled down some stuff, some dots and scallops and stuff, and just tried to do some abstract stuff with mostly paint and then distress crayon and gouache. Some of this is gouache. I think these ones are some of those, not necessarily a decent drawing pen that would be sturdier than a Sharpie, but they're a cheaper version. So this video is getting long already. I thought this would go a lot quicker, but I guess not. I'm sorry. This one's just a background. I love this chevron. I think it's Tim Holtz. And these stamps that I got as a 3 set. You know, they're circular and they nest inside of each other. A whole bunch of gouache. I think some distress ink and just regular paint. But I like how that one came out. It's just, once again, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. My dog is huffing and puffing over there. So this one is Art Your Heart. ... And I did use one of my feathers from Happy Mail from the Pink Poodle Crafts Creative Crafty Playground. I think that's what we settled on for the name of the group. What they settled on. I think there's some, I tried to do crackle paint and it was getting old and it wasn't crackling anymore, so it mostly just looks really shiny and annoying. But there's some, oops, sorry, I'm so sorry, doily stencil. It looks kind of weird, but it gives it some interesting visual texture. And then this chevron and some dots through, paint through that. And otherwise, the very background, like that red and that green, are distress inks. So all kinds of stuff on there. I think this is gouache, feels like. I had gouache for quite a while because Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, was talking about them. Oh, I have to have them, and never used them. And that was maybe 2-3 years ago. So this was my first other real try at gouache, and actually trying to draw, or maybe this was not distress crowns, watercolor crowns maybe. I can't even remember anymore. I can't remember. But maybe it was watercolor crowns, because it was really hard for me to keep this in one circle. And I tried to make it look all peppered with water and stuff, so it looked kind of textury. That's my try at art, like real art, fine art. I suck. And that's it for that one. Or just taking some color and plopping it on a page. So this one, I actually did do the cover with journaling, or not journaling, jelly plating, and then stamping, and then add some Sharpies, fine liner, just at least trying to use it with doing the abstract scribble writing that doesn't say anything. That was the cover. Looks like it's peeling. It was actually covered by a separate piece of paper, and then, which is this blue color, and then I did stuff on it. So I wasn't struggling to cover I think it's a red cover. So that would take a lot of layers, even with gesso. I'm so sorry. So this is the first unfinished page, mostly just roll-offs. I would roll off into this after using the jelly plate. And I've sort of added some swipes of color after needing to use up some of the paint from other projects, so stencil through using paint. So this is the same thing. I was trying for Christmas colors in some of my jelly plating, so roll off. Add some gouache around it to use it up. Add some I don't even remember what colors those are. That might be gouache to use it up. These are mostly my roll-off pages. See, stamp off using my stencil. Gouache, paint. Mostly I think paint, just to be able to get down some texture-y pictures and stuff, use up paint. And then a random finished page, which I really like. Wake up with determination, go to bed with satisfaction. And I finally have started trying to use my stash of papers, embellishments that I've had from packs. This corner, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I did the cute idea of using the twine with a little tag, so I used that up. Doodled, which I love how it came out, and used a fine liner to, scribble and line. I used a white fine one filled with white. And then this was the first time I used my texture paste, and I used it with lavender that I have that's very old. Well, not very old, but it's pretty darn old. Probably about almost 9 years. So I like how that came out. It's a very interesting feeling. And I mixed it also with salt. Some coarse kosher salt. Blah. I expel a lot. And it's mostly black and brown paint on the bottom. Just regular craft acrylic paint. Nothing great. And this, I think, was cut out. Whoop, cut out from something. And just write that on there in my crappy handwriting. And I really liked the phrase enough, so I used it again with this roll-off page. And it was like gouache. Use up some splotches of color because I think I was using up paint. And I think that was written in maybe watercolor crayon. So I wasn't sure how to use it yet. Now these are all distress colors, distress ink colors with a little bit of gouache, a little bit of paint through a stencil. One of the stencils that I love. And it just says play. Insinuating play with art, play with paint, play with ink. I really do like that one. I don't think I'm going to add anything to that because I actually like it the way it is. And this one is mostly distress ink, this red, and some of this blue with what feels like gouache to use up. So that'll be a page that started. And then we're tapering off here to just a whole bunch of spray offs and rub offs of distress ink, some gouache, that orange is gouache. This is random. I was going to do like the whole page like this, only that got really tedious and I stopped. I think that feels like gouache. I don't know what that metallic-y blue one is. I think that might be just a regular metallic blue paint or maybe nail polish? I'm not sure. But it's a start. And that's a start. Let's say the neon paints. I was doing art cards, artist trading cards, sorry. And needed to use up some of the paint, so I just slapped down some color, and that's it. So I don't have very many finished pages in this one at all. I mean, I have maybe the 2. And that's it. And otherwise, yeah. So thanks for watching. I'm new at all of this, so no, you're not going to see perfection, but I figured it might inspire you to use up old books that are definitely not going to be worth anything, and maybe the idea of journaling your feelings and then arting over it, not necessarily to cover it up, but to release it, to get rid of it, to get rid of those feelings and to feel better. So I'm sorry for all the clearing of the throat. I am sorry for the angle, the lighting, the location, but everyone's asleep. It's almost like 3 in the morning. So when I want to do stuff, this is when I do it. So I'm a third shifter now, so those are my hours. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like anything that you see at all. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.